We are back with a lot of great information here for you for Magic the Gathering Friday night meta as we give you the latest and greatest and updates on what's happening in multitude of formats, best of one and best of three, as we always do. So thank you for joining in as we take a look at what happened in December and what the current meta looks like here in January. Now, timestamps are available to you down below, so you will have those available, like I just said. And on top of that, if you happen to have a question or comment along the way, let me know. I love to hear from you, and feel free to join us in the discussion, as always, in the Discord server. All right, so here's what we got going on. Like I said, we did not do one last week. A lot going on for the holidays and all that fun stuff. No excuses. However, we will cover it here today. And then we're going to give you the snapshot here as we get into January, and obviously happy 2024. So a couple things. We actually have Selesnya enchantments right now in Standard Best of 1 against all the aggregate data as the best deck. So I think this is actually one of the first times that's been up there. We'll take a look and consult the data. Now we have mono red aggro in there, mono white humans, Azorus control, 4-color domain, mono black aggro, Golgari midrange, and dimmer control. Now again, heavily dominated really by mono red aggro, Selesnya enchantments, and Azorus control, and then kind of everything else there. Now here's what we look at in terms of popularity over time. We see that rise in mono red, pretty typical at the start. You can see that drop and then move up, drop and move up, similar here with our other favorites. But again, very interesting to see Selesnya enchantments popping above. It did here for a little bit right at the beginning of the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. As you can see, mono white has slowly been fading. Mono red again being the more popular one, and then again the Selesnya enchantments really being a nice matchup for mono red because you can get that life gain, pulling yourself back in and scale those creatures as soon as you can get around any of those burns. Lots of value there for you. And in fact, we covered that list here this week as well that you can check out on the channel. So that's there in best of one. We're going to leave it at the aggregate because not a lot of players in Mythic. So right now, let's check out best of three. Here we go in best of three. We got 5-color domain, 4-color domain, mono red aggro, Boros Convoke, Gruul aggro, Esper midrange, Golgari midrange, and Azorus soldiers there. Esper midrange, 4-color domain being the big ones, and then mono red and Golgari midrange being followed in second there in terms of what's happening. Now again, popularity over time, we do see these two being very close, these two also being very close, and then kind of everything else. Here in terms of that win rate, a nice jump in that 5-color domain out of the gates. Mono red doing fairly strong and well, and then 4-color domain also popping up there towards the end. Now, when we look at what happened in December, we do see the domain list running train, and then mono red again kind of going sideways. Big drop there in that Azorus soldiers list. Gruul dinosaurs, Golgari, and then Golgari in there as well. So that's a big piece. And then that concludes best of one and best of three for standard. But just quickly here, if you wanted to glance at what happened towards the end of the month, we kind of breezed over that. But again, just some additional clarity. All right, so let's go into Explorer now. Here we have Boros Heroic, Abzan Amalia, Azorus Control, Selesnya Angels, Rakdos Midrange, Mono Red Aggro, Abzan Greasefang, and Izzet Phoenix. And then here on the right, you can see the popularity really being these top four, top three, Abzan, Azorus, and Izzet, Selesnya Angels in there as well. And then you can see how this popularity is looking over time. Again, we have both the ban restricted, we got the release of cons really being out for a little bit over a month, roughly, and then you can see how we ended here in December, and then additionally what's going on currently in the meta, that Abzan Amalia being the key list, and we do see that Izzet Phoenix falling fairly well in terms of popularity there, similar to Azorus Control, but again, maintaining and getting back. So all key things, we see compression in the meta in terms of win rate as well. So that's best of one. Let's check out best of three. Here we have Abzan Amalia as well, Boros Convoke, Rakdos midrange, 5 clarifiers, Izzet Phoenix, Azorus Control, Grixis Phoenix, Mono Black Waste Knot, and then here on the right, big ones being Rakdos, mid-range, Azorus Control, Izzet Phoenix, and that Abzan Amalia again. And as we come down here, we do see that rise in the Rakdos mid-range and that release of cons. Also, Azorus Control faring a little bit better, and a little bit of a drop there in Abzan Amalia, but again, Still good win rate there. And Boros Convoke climbing back up as well, while the other ones are kind of falling down there. So, and then when we look at, again, December, here's what we got going on for those pieces as well. So that's what we have for Explorer. Let's go ahead and pull it back to best of one. Now we have some Alchemy. Alchemy here, we got mono red aggros or soldiers, Gruul Burn, Orzhov midrange. Is it Pirates, Gruul Dinosaurs, 5-color Legends, and mono black midrange? Here on the right, dominated by mono red aggro, followed closely by the next 4 in that spot. Orzhov, Azor Soldiers, Gruul Dinosaurs / Burn as well in there. And then popularity, again, fairly similar. We do see a nice jump in that Gruul Burn there. A little bit of a jump in Soldiers and midrange as well. And then also mono black midrange getting a little bit of a boost. When we look at that win rate over time, we do see mono red dropping. We see Gruul Burn dropping. We see Azora Soldiers doing well out of the gate, and then the rise of that Orzhov midrange, which is a little bit different in terms of how we ended in December there. Trajectories here pretty close, except for this one, Gruul Burn, in terms of that December 2023 into our January 2024. Now, let's go ahead and look at best of 3. Best of 3, really only 2 decks. We got Orzhov midrange, Esper Control. You can see these 2 here, moving back and forth between the 2. All right. So that concludes Alchemy. Time for us to take a look at Historic here. We do have mono green elves at the top right now. Selesnya Scroll Twin, Is It Wizards falling. 5-color ley line, mono red aggro, 4-color ley line, mono black control, and mono white life gain in there. Is It Wizards, mono green elves, 4-color ley line, Selesnya Scroll Twin, and so forth. Here you can see that popularity. Again, that Is It Wizards. You can see 4-color ley line falling off here over the 2, and mono green elves getting stronger. Here, the win rates of Is It Wizards kind of dropping down. We saw that ley line. We've talked about that before. Again, falling while we get some overtaking on Selesnya Scroll Twin and mono green elves in there. Very, very powerful in terms of some of these changes, and then mono black control as well. So lots of differences going on. We'll keep an eye on as things evolve. Let's check out best of 3. Here we got Is It Wizards, mono green devotion, Azor's Control, Is It Wizards at 25, devotion at 17. A little bit of a shift. You see that mono green devotion was actually ahead there, but a fairly wide gap in terms of win rate there, in terms of also what we're seeing for Historic for January. All right, so that concludes Historic. We're going to get a nice look here at Timeless now. So Timeless has been out a little bit longer now, finally. We do see it back to December, as you can take a look there. We'll pull down here in a second. We do have Dimmer Dredge at the top. We have Jund midrange, mono black control, Rakdos Burn, Rakdos midrange, 5-color domain, Grixis Shadow, mono red burn. Then on the right, you see that mono black control, Rakdos Burn, Rakdos midrange, Grixis Shadow. Very powerful, those 3. Domain, Dredge, Jund midrange, and mono red. And then as you scroll down, you can see, again, that's what I was talking about. The 12th, we see the release of Khans. Here, you do see Grixis Shadow falling down. We continue to see that trend. The big one is that Rakdos Burn coming up, again, being pretty popular. And then the rise of mono black in there as well. And we start to see a little bit more tightening of the meta and what's being played. And then here, the win rate, we do see Dimmer Dredge squeaking out towards the end of December, and certainly out of the gate here being very strong in January. Some of the other stuff trending down, while we do see mono red, and we do see that 5-color domain starting to trend up. So few things, and plus mono black. A few things for us to keep an eye on for Timeless best of 1. Let's see what's going on in best of 3. We got a few things happening here. Gray, lots of gray. In terms of domain, Jund, Rakdos midrange, Grixis Shadow, Dimmer Control, Sultai midrange. There we go. 4-color control, Is It Tempo, and then on the right, the top 3 being the main ones. Here again, as we compare that popularity, we do see that Sultai midrange becoming less popular. We see Rakdos midrange becoming more. We do see that jump in 5-color domain as well. And then here on the right, we see that win rate, 5-color domain jumping up ahead. We do see a drop in that Jund midrange coming out of the gate. And some of those other lists as well. So that is Timeless at its Timeless piece now here for our Friday night meta. Last but not least, we don't want to forget about Historic Brawl. So finally we have Historic Brawl, and we got a new one here, Malcolm Alluring Scoundrel. We got Mythweaver Pog still in there, Panalanza, the first Narset's getting moved back in a little bit, Atraxa, Goshen Tai, and here you go on the right. You can see that Malcolm Alluring Scoundrel in there. We see Narset, some of these other things. In terms of his popularity, that falling of Mythweaver Pog, the release of Cons, and then into December here, you can see some of those changes. And then as we look at that win rate, we do have Ragavan still at the top. We got Mythweaver there, Itali, all those fun things. Let's see where that Malcolm is. Look at that. Malcolm Alluring Scoundrel. Very, very powerful. Finally overtaking Ragavan right there. So big thing to pay attention to in terms of what's happening in this particular meta. So let's pull it all back together. We've had a ton of stuff here, tons of updates, tons of information going on at you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We bridged kind of the end of December into where we're at in January, seeing some of the new set stuff with Cons moving on and moving forward and changing, and additionally there with Timeless. So lots to go through, lots of fast things. So if you do got a question or comment, certainly let us know, because I'd love to hear, and feel free to join us in the Discord server. So with that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in today. Thank you for your time as always, and thank you for your support. I appreciate the likes and the subs as we grow this amazing community here. On top of that, thank you as always to all the members. We do have memberships available to you. You can check those out. And we have affiliate links and other great ways to support the channel and stay in the know. With that, best of luck this week as you crunch and crash and take over the meta here, and thread the needle, as I always like to say with the decks. Do you go with the flow or do you go against the grain? With that, we'll see you again soon. Until next week and next time, we got a ton of great Magic content here on the channel. More coming your way. Check out that Aslaznia Enchantments. It is the best deck right now. Might help you. Take care.